How's it going, everybody? Fernando, the Lone Star Halo, joined by Rob Sin Cara. He doesn't have a face today, but that is okay. He's here. We're going to talk Angels baseball, Jorge Soler, and, well, maybe we'll talk some Dodgers. All that and more coming up next.
Hey, you are now listening or watching the Halos in the Infield podcast, sponsored in part by Noble L Works over on 1621 South Sinclair, where you can get discounts by just mentioning HITI, Halos in the Infield, drink discounts on us, baby. And also by 714 Tickets, 714 Tickets. The price you see is the price you get, and you also get 10% additionally off in the Apply Now code once you order your tickets just by mentioning HITI, Halos in the Infield. Now enjoy the show.
In the land of last shores, I play my part with the Halos in the infield. I'll make my mark. I'm the Lone Star Halo, shining bright tonight. In a sea of rangers, I'll stand and fight with the Halos in the outfield under stadium lights. From Texas to Anaheim, we'll soar to new heights. We'll soar to new heights.
Yes, I am the Lone Star Halo, and we are joined here by Rob. Right before we hit record, someone in my neighborhood was giving out a bunch of baseball cards. I swung by his house, and he gave me an entire shopping bag full of baseball cards. I'm going to pull out one random card, and the listeners at home are going to have to listen to who that is. It's Cal Daniels. Do you know who that is?
I do not know who that is.
Played for the Dodgers, apparently. Coincidentally enough. Because I was disgusted when I said we were going to talk about the Dodgers. He played for them in 89 and 90. So go figure. There you go. So
we weren't alive.
Was that?
We weren't even alive.
No, I was not alive.
I was born I was alive in 90, not 89.
I was born in 95. So
yeah, not even a glimmer in your daddy's eye.
No, and my mom had me at 18, so hopefully not a glimmer in her eye at that point either.
Yeah,
not there. So, yeah, right. So, let's just address the elephant in the room. I'm sure we're going to talk about it during the offseason. You live in Dodger Town, USA, essentially. Has it gotten worse over the last couple days?
It has been absolutely awful here. Don't get me wrong. It's like any fan base. You have your good fans, you have your bad fans, and then you have the bandwagon fans when you see success, such as Dodgers have had recently. And it's just awful. Everywhere you go, you see Dodger hats. It's funny, at the store the other day, I told this guy he's wearing a Dodger hat, the grocery store I go to, and he works there. I go, weren't you just wearing a Red Sox hat and then a Yankees hat, and now you're wearing a Dodgers hat? Well, they're a local team. I don't like the bandwagon fans. The Dodger fan base as a whole, it's just one of those you love to hate. You know what I mean?
Fair. That's fair. Yeah, no, that's what I hate about Yankees fans and Dodger fans. Very fair weather. But, I mean, This is just kind of we're just on the wrong side of it right now, because I'm sure you remember in the mid-2000s, the Dodgers were one of the laughing stocks of baseball. They were not good. They were not a good run organization, and the Angels were killing it. And a lot of those fans were Angels fans, and they were going to say, no, that's not true.
Tons
hey,
of them
it's not very hard to find a photo of Kobe Bryant in an Angels jersey. I'm just saying.
Not at all.
Just saying.
Yeah,
so
absolutely right.
Kind of represents the LA fan base. You know what? They'll ride the hot hand, and they do. I grew up in Southern California. I've seen it. You know what I mean? Who's the popular team? The Lakers, the Clippers. Depends who made it farther in the playoffs that year. Angels, Dodgers, same thing. Ducks, Kings. There's a lot of Ducks fans back when they were in the Stanley Cup.
Oh, yeah. And they had those amazing runs in the 2000s, and then all of a sudden the Kings came around and they were good.
Had their Stanley Cup runs. Yeah. So that's just how the market is. You know what I mean? There's not a lot of Charger fans right now, but if they start making some Super Bowl pushes, there'll be Charger fans all of a sudden. So that's not necessarily a complete mockery of LA fans. There's a lot of people like that. I mean, Maybe not so much here in Dallas. I mean, Cowboy fans are very loyal, but I
They
will
are.
say this: there is a lot of people not wearing Cowboy stuff right now, unlike this time last year. So,
Yeah, I wouldn't be.
yeah, no, that's just how it is with them. They're very fair weather too. But it's also because people here in Texas love college football and like high school football too. So if the pro teams aren't doing good for their respective sport, they'll just
Hmm.
support the local schools. And that's kind of one thing that's different about California, right? I mean, there's
Oh yeah,
probably most people can't even name their local high school's mascot unless they went there. So
yeah, absolutely. You're
can
absolutely
you
right.
name your local high school's mascot?
I can actually name a lot of them. Yeah,
Okay.
unfortunately, I'm big. I'm involved in it and everything in the community, and
Okay.
I like to
That's fair.
donate
That's fair.
around. So
That's fair. That's fair. And you listen to a lot of Roger Lodge.
too
So
much of Roger Lodge.
you hear a lot of the pride of Cerritos High School, the Dons, right? Are they the Dons?
You know what? I don't live in Cerritos. My area is like the PVC Kings. I went to Mary Star Stars. Like I went to those schools around here. Peninsula High, Panthers, teams like that.
See, I wouldn't have been able to name a single one of those.
Yeah, see, it's tough. I mean, I can't name the Orange County team so much.
That's fair. That's fair. So now that you mentioned Orange County, let's get back a little bit more on track. Now let's talk about the Jorge Soler trade. Now we've obviously talked in the group chat. You're very involved in the group chat. I don't mean the negative way. So I kind of know your feelings going into it. For anybody who might be living under a rock, this move was made on Halloween Day, right? Halloween Day.
Yep.
And it was the first major raindrop to fall. And we have now seen some corresponding moves. There's been other trades in Major League Baseball, but so far, this is the move of the offseason. I guess now you can say it's Garrett Cole deciding to stay with the Yankees. He opted out of his contract. He declined the 1 year like thing that they put on the end of the contract. So he instead settled on a 4 year deal with the Yankees.
That
So
was
go.
just That was just smoke and mirrors to get it off of him for not covering first base.
You think so?
I think so. I mean, it was a business move overall for him, but they know they need him. He knew that too. So that was a great business move by him overall.
Yeah, it's also he's a Scott Boris guy.
Yeah,
Do you think Scott Boris has kind of messed up a little bit his reputation after last offseason? Like, does Scott Boris need to have a good offseason this year, or he might start losing some respect around Major League Baseball?
I think so. You're dealing with a whole new generation of players in itself too, who want instantaneous success. They want results right away. They don't want to go through the process, the methods of it all. But yes, this is a big one for him overall because you look at Snell, you look at Montgomery, all these other guys who haven't gotten big time deals, who probably should have. He just went the wrong way about it. Waiting it used to be like one of the best things for him, right? He'd wait it out, see the market value, and attack from there. But this is my personal opinion, and it could be wrong. I think teams are kind of shifting in a way, moving pieces. Granted, you have your Yankees, your Dodgers, your Mets who can afford to do whatever they want. But I think a lot of teams are going to be afraid of a salary cap coming in soon under this next CBA. I think it's going to be a thing talked about, and I think it's going to be a thing pushed forward where these teams are like, hey, we don't want to, just in case this were to happen, we can't handicap ourselves. And Steinbrenner said it the best overall. He goes, I can't, and we'll get to this, I'm sure, later. The Juan Soto. I don't want to sign a guy for $50 to $70 million a year because it's going to cost me more if nothing's deferred. I'm going to pay $60 million in luxury tax. So instead of a $70 million a year, you're talking about what, 120 million per year you're going to pay just to be competitive and be good for one guy. It's not worth it.
Now, for anybody who didn't listen to our Dodgers won the World Series show, whatever you want to call that, if you want to call that a World Series postgame show, you had a very interesting take, and you were talking about how teams need a salary floor, like in the NHL, but they also need a salary cap. Now, I completely agree with that. I don't know if Major League Baseball is ever going to settle on a salary cap per se. I had talked to Todd off air, and I want you to give me your opinion on this. So, obviously, teams like the Dodgers, the Yankees, the Mets, they don't care how much they're going to get taxed, right? They don't care about the luxury tax. They just blow right through it. So what if Major League Baseball were to do a salary floor, which I think is going to be the best case scenario to promote parity in the game? It forces teams like the A's, the White Sox, who are trying to cut payroll to spend a little bit. But instead of doing a ceiling, they still have that, like, okay, hey, this is the line. But instead of taxing them for going over the line, what if they start taking away draft picks? So the first time they go over it, all right, we're going to take away a third round pick. Second time they go over it, or maybe if they hit a certain threshold over, we're going to take away your second round pick. And then, another tier, we take away your first round pick. Because I think that's how you really punch a team in the stomach.
One pick's not going to do it. I mean, in my opinion, there's first rounders who work out, but there's a lot of first rounders who you never see Major League Baseball field. You know what I mean? They're up, they're down. I mean, there's plenty of first picks who never make it to AAA. So I think hitting them with picks would be great overall, but it's got to be multiple. Just a one pick at a time is not going to do it because, as we all seen, right? Doesn't matter what pick you are in the draft. You have guys that are first round picks or 32nd round picks making a difference in the big leagues today.
Well, look at a team like the Astros. So I'm sure you remember after the cheating scandal. Now, I guess it's not a scandal; it's confirmed. They got penalized. Two of their draft picks, and everybody was thinking to themselves, "Well, it's only two picks; it's not going to make that big of a difference." But if you look at where Houston is now, it's made a bit of a difference. I mean, they have one of the worst farm systems in Major League Baseball. They traded what little players they did have for Yusei Kikuchi. Mm-hmm. So I would make the argument that, I mean, look what happened there. And, even look no further than the Angels themselves. Remember, there was a long time where if a player was extended a qualifying offer, if they declined it and you signed that player, you lost your first round pick. Nowadays, yes, it's your second and your third round pick, which I prefer. But look how bad our farm system is because we sign guys like Pujols, Hamilton, Wilson, etc.
Yeah, no, it has hurt the Mets, but the Astros. They've also made some silly trades out there to get some guys back, to get Verlander back. Look what they had to do. They ate the contract on top of that. I mean, some ill-advised moves overall, because even talk about the Yankees. Look at their farm system. Used to be one of the best, but what happened? They traded away to get instant success because they want instant gratification instead of going through the process. And the Angels have done the same thing. So, I mean, yeah, yes and no. It hurts them overall somewhat, but at the same time, it's just a lot of the moves that are made is what also hurts you, Because the Padres, too. Padres had one of the top minor league systems, but then everyone got traded away for Juan Soto, for rental players, and it's just how you operate overall.
I'll say this about the Padres. I believe that AJ Preller, who's been there for about a decade now, has proven that he is not a good drafter. And there's going to be some people who call me an idiot, and that's fine. But I mean, they had so when he first got hired in 2015, that offseason, they traded for Matt Camp, they traded for Upton, Will Myers, they signed James Shields. So they moved all their chips to the center. You know what I mean? They signed Will Middlebrooks, they got Derek Norris in the trade. So they went all in. It didn't work out. They traded away almost every single one of those pieces. And they got back what they could. They rebuilt their farm system. It became the top farm system in baseball, if memory serves correctly, in 16, 17, that era. And they called it their hot talent lava era. For anybody who might be somewhat of a Padres fan, those are the Hunter Renfroes, the Franmil Reyes, the Mackenzie Gores, those type of guys were part of their hot talent lava phase. None of those guys worked out for them. So then they traded them away again. And that's where they got the current run they're on, right? You got your Juan Sotos, like you mentioned. Now, Rogers out of the bullpen. I digress. But a team like the Padres have proven that maybe they're not good at drafting because, they've caught some lightning in a bottle here and there, but they haven't had a lot of guys that they drafted who have been successful over the last 10 years. Perry has proven that the only way he can really build a team is through the draft. Because last time I checked, we're going to get to this whole Soler trade. He doesn't have a good record with trades.
Perry?
Yes, Perry. I mean, obviously the Ohapi trade is like the first thought that comes up. But I mean, Should we talk about the Giolito trade? You want to bring that up?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm going to agree with you on that. The one thing I will say about Preller, AJ Preller, I don't think he's that bad at growing talent. I mean, if you look at what he had, you're talking Mackenzie Gore, CJ Abrams, James Wood. All three guys were doing great this year on the Nationals. Nationals? Yes.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. But they didn't give him the opportunity to, to materialize.
But that was all a push for who? Juan Soto.
Well,
And
so,
then,
yeah.
I mean, you look at it for who they got with who they traded. They had Austin Hedges at one point, right?
Yeah, they had Austin Hedges, and he was another guy.
And Naylor, and they
they're big
traded those
players.
guys away. And I mean, they have talent. I think they draft very well. They're very bad at trades, in my opinion, on what they receive back for it all. Too. That's just me though. I mean, that could be. What they Trey Turner? Is Trey Turner a Padre?
Trey Turner was a Padre. He was involved in the Will Myers trade.
Will Myers, thank you. Okay, so I mean, I think they draft well. I mean, they just don't trade well. And I'm going to go ahead and say too, the biggest thing that I thought the Padres messed up on was Max Fried.
Freed.
Max Fried. I mean, they had him. If you think about the Padres overall, they had him, Emmanuel Clase. They've had a lot of guys on that team who
Emmanuel
are really
Clase
good.
was a Padre?
I thought they drafted him. I could be wrong.
You could very well be right.
I thought they drafted him because
Yeah, maybe.
him and Naylor were in the same thing. I thought we're in the same trade. I could be wrong. I mean, I've been wrong once before, just once. But anyways, only once. Anyways, they're good. But the Angels, I agree.
He was drafted by the Texas Rangers December 15th, 2019, in exchange for Corey Kluber.
He was drafted by the Rangers?
Trades. Yeah. Speaking of bad trades.
Yeah, no joke. Was he ever on the how do you look this up? Was he ever on the Padres? Or in the Padres system?
Wait. Oh, yeah. Yeah, you're right. 2015 signed Emmanuel Clase as a non-drafted free agent by the Padres, and then they traded him to the Rangers for Brett Nichols.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, and then he was traded in 2019. Okay, so there you go for the Rangers. So you were right. Google only got the first half, didn't cover that second half. I don't remember him as a Padre, so.
I remember him being spoken of as one of the fails of the Padres, not to put together a super team. They had everything, they were looking for it, and they have it in their own backyard and didn't realize it. But anyways, like you would say, I digress on this. Perry overall, his trades have been very bad. I agree. I don't see how you give up to your top prospects and only get back Lucas Giolito when Dylan Cease was traded the very next, 3 months later, he was traded to the Padres. Yeah. I don't see how you don't include that in the trade. If you had to ante up and give up at the time, a Joe Adell or even Mickey Moniak, it would have been worth it to get a Dylan Cease back in return. But that was just the Angels at the time. They thought we'd out hit. I don't know how much of this is Perry versus is Artie, because Artie prefers hitters than he does pitchers overall. But the Jorge Soler trade, it is a good trade for us. I think it helps us out a lot. The only thing I don't like about it is that we let San Fran off the hook of a whole bunch of money because they got the deal. They got him for the first year for $10 million. They backloaded his contract. Griffin Canning was only getting paid $2.5 million a year.
I think. I have to check what he's projected to get this year from arbitration, but
it can't be more than 5. He was awful.
Yeah, I was gonna say my guess is you'll be in the 4s. Is my guess.
Yeah, he was awful. But I mean, it's a good trade for us because we needed to cut ties with a lot of our starting pitching. We need to cut ties with, and it's a step in the right direction. But we got to see overall what's the plan here. Jorge Soler is not going to be the answer unless he comes back like the 2019 guy who hit 38, 40 home runs, something like that.
Yeah, let's go through those stats. So the trade for anybody who was born under a rock is Griffin Canning for Jorge Soler. Straight up, there is no kicker on either one of those. Jorge Soler last year had a WAR just above 1 at 1.1. He had 119 hits, 21 home runs, batted .241 with an on-base percentage of .338. Now, he is a career .243 hitter, so nobody can say he's not consistent. He batted .241. He's a career .243 hitter. That's what you're going to get out of him. He has 191 career home runs and an on-base percentage of 331. So consistency for this guy is the name of the game. His best season was 2019, as you had said, when he hit 48 home runs. But the biggest thing that year, struck out 178 times. He can get bitten by the strikeout.
Yes, he does strike out a lot. I mean, he's at what, over 100 almost every year.
Yeah, let me see. He
Or
was
flirting
he's
with it.
Yeah, he's been flirting with 150 many times even. So 178 in 2019 was the highest. The other years where he's close to that number is 142 in 2021, and in 2023 and 2024 he struck out 141 times. So like I said, he is consistent. He's going to strike out about 140 times. He's going to bat about 240, and he is going to provide some power.
He
Now,
fits right in.
yeah, exactly right. The launch angle king. We'll talk a little bit right now about Griffin Canning, but I do think that this is a good move for the Angels. Now, I truly believe that this organization needed to add to the outfield, and honestly, I think they still might need to. I would like to see Ward move for a starting pitcher. I believe he can bring back a decent piece. I don't think he's going to bring back an ace, of course, but I think a guy like Ward paired with somebody else could give you a number 3, number 4 in the rotation type guy. A guy like a Tyler Anderson, I believe, is the kind of guy you can get for Ward. Hopefully, with a little bit more control, maybe like 2-ish, 3-ish years. You're not going to get, somebody with 6 to 7 years of control. You're not going to get a Paul Skeens guy, of course. But you could get a guy who is a piece. And the good thing about the Angels right now, they have a lot of young guys who can be pieces. Jack Kohotowicz, solid year last year. I'm excited to see what he can do. Alda Gary showed some flashes of being very good, and even better, something that we haven't been used to. He's shown some accountability, Rob. I mean, that's got to be nice to see, right? Because we don't have a lot of pitchers who take accountability here, and that's what you want to see out of a young guy, right?
No, it is. You want a guy to learn from his mistakes and own up to it, and then know that he has to work at something to be better in order to succeed later on.
Exactly. So, those are two solid guys right there. There's a couple of the other guy, is his name George Clausen, who was a trade deadline pickup for us. What are you going to get out of him? Yes,
he was.
So there you go. I mean, we really didn't get to see too much of him this year. What's Dana going to look like out of spring training? Obviously, you have Anderson. If he's going to be here at opening day, he's kind of a lock. He's probably, honestly, the opening day starter, assuming there's no other moves that are made. I hope there are. So there's definitely a little bit of hope in the rotation. Now, we did shed Griffin Canning. I think a lot of Angels fans are on the same boat you are. I like Griffin Canning. I liked him when he was drafted. I liked him coming out of UCLA in the second round. Unfortunately, he hasn't been able to flourish here. I do believe that Griffin Canning has what it takes to be a number 5 in a rotation, in most rotations. But I think a change of scenery is really going to benefit him. The Angels have proven to not exactly be a pitching factory. So Atlanta is pretty good at developing pitchers, and they're pretty good at developing their guys. So he still has, 2 years of control left. So
Yeah,
I believe this was a good trade. We needed an outfielder. We needed an outfielder with power. And I believe that he is going to take a little bit of pressure off of a guy like Ward if he sticks around.
Yeah, I mean, he just seemed like a salary dump for me, personally, for the Soler
For the Braves, you mean?
for the Braves, yeah, because think about it, they have all their guys coming back. Acuna was out, right? Everyone was out with injury last year, but now they're back, crowded outfield. They don't want to pay $16 million for a bench role player type of guy, which you can't blame the team, right? It's a great business move. Perry has obviously a very good relationship with a former team that he came from. Canning, for me, I mean, yeah, we've seen them turn Ronaldo Lopez into a top-tier starter, but he had the stuff. I don't think Canning has the stuff. He's too hit or miss for me. He's more of a long reliever, maybe a middle relief type guy. He's a guy you take a risk on if you're the Braves right now, because let's say you pay him the $4 million, you either drop him or trade him to some team who's desperate. He just doesn't have it. He doesn't have the grit, the killer instinct that he had what they saw at UCLA. I wasn't a big proponent of drafting him at UCLA too, because I didn't think he had the overpowering stuff. The game's changing, right? When your fastball and your changeup are close at times because you lose velocity because you're tired, it's going to hurt you overall as a pitcher, right? Because it doesn't really, there's no deception to it all. I mean, it just, for me, he just didn't have it. Again, yeah, we didn't have the best coaching around him when he was coming up. He went through a lot as a rookie, young guy with the passing Tyler Skaggs, who was his mentor at the time. But we never brought him to the next level to even help develop him. I thought we brought him up too soon as well, which is my fear with Cade and Dana right now.
Yeah, I guess the good news is that the Angels might have felt that because, I mean, they let Dana have 3 outings. The first one was solid. The next
Mm-hmm.
2 were obviously terrible. And luckily, the organization saw that. They didn't want to shake up his confidence too bad. And they did the right thing and they set him down. Personally, I love the idea of him competing for a starting rotation spot out of spring training, but I
Me
don't think
too.
this guy should be anywhere near the major league roster,
No.
unless something drastic changes. But I love the idea of Ron Washington walking into the first day of spring training and saying, Dana, go earn your spot. And hey, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. You know what? There are some guys that come out, they're young. I mean, look at Juan Soto. The guy was 19, right? When he won a World Series, 1920.
Yeah.
So there are some young guys that are all of a sudden just ready. They get there and they're good from the jump. I mean, Trout was pretty young when he made his major league debut. A lot of people don't really remember his 2011, true rookie first month. He wasn't
Mm-hmm.
very good.
No,
But when
struggled
2012
mightily.
rolled around out of spring training, he came out hot, won the Rookie of the Year, and he never really looked back. Should have won the MVP that year. And he probably would have if it wasn't for Miguel Cabrera, getting a triple crown. So that's pretty impressive. That's pretty rare. So, and I like Miguel Cabrera. So I'm okay with it. I'm not
Yeah.
resentful that he won. There are some other MVPs that he really should have won, like the Josh Donaldson one that should have gone to Trout. But once again, I digress.
Yeah.
But I think that Canning getting traded was one of the best things that could happen for him and for this organization. It frees up a potential spot in the rotation. And I really, really do. Like, if there's one thing that I just feel down to my core, I do believe the Angels are going to make a trade for a starting pitcher. This guy isn't going to, rock the world. He isn't going to change the landscape, but I do think he could be part of, the future over the next 2 or 3 seasons.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, I know you got to get going here, so we'll bring you on back in the future. But I want your grade for this Soler trade as we close out.
For this one, I'll give it a B. It's a solid B trade.
Okay.
It's not what we need exactly to turn this franchise around, because obviously you can compare Jorge Soler to Shohei Ohtani. You're going to take Ohtani every single day. And even with
Of
that
course.
guy, we couldn't go ahead and win. But we have to – I mean, everyone wants to – they're saying they need to get another infielder, another outfielder, without making a big splash in the outfield overall, man. This trade needs to be addressed with another role player in it too, and this trade can be great. But you got to complement the trade, because if you put him out there on the field and he's protecting himself in the lineup, he's not going to get these home runs. So he needs help
Absolutely.
around him, because when he was in Kansas City, when he was in Atlanta, obviously, Miami before that too, and he started off as a Cub, I believe, too. He had protection in the lineup. And even the Giants, they put someone around him in the lineup who can help him hit. And in order for this trade to be successful, he needs help around him. That's just me, though. What I think overall.
Yeah, I think if he is batting, gosh, I don't even know where you would put him. Because, I mean, you'd, in theory, have, they wanted Neto leading off. Is that where they wanted him? They wanted him batting second.
I think Neto's
So-
second's the best one overall.
Yeah, so you have him like second. You have Trout probably batting third. And then you have Soler. And then you have Ohapi. Maybe Ward. I think you'd have Ohapi and then Ward. But
It's hard to say
Like I
because you
said,
don't know what you're going to have. You know what I mean? You don't know
yeah, yeah.
who's going to be on your team this year. I mean, if you're going for another
Stay tuned.
infielder, yeah,
Stay
stay
tuned. We'll
tuned
cover this
overall.
later.
Yeah, there's
Okay.
plenty of guys out there, but can I ask you a question though? Who do you think right now? Since I'm not sure if you're going to cover this, the Angels. You see all the free agents out there. Who's your go-to if you have a top 5 or top 3, even one guy? Who do you think is going to be the one
For what exactly? Just
for
for
the
the
Angels to
rotation?
go ahead and let's try to turn the page? It's how do we get better?
The two moves that I'd really like to see get done here is, I mean, it really leads to an avalanche once you make those two moves. But I would love to see a guy like a Max Fried come up here, get signed. I
Hmm.
don't think he will because I mean that's a big pitcher. Artie doesn't like spending on big pitchers. But a guy like him at the top of this rotation would be great and exactly what we need here. We need a front of the rotation type guy to take guys like Detmers or Sandoval when he gets back to
Yeah.
where maybe they should be, to that next level. And then Aldergary is also a left-hander, so that could help with that too. Um, and then I would like to see us potentially get another outfielder, and then that would lead to trading, Adele Ward, Moniak. You'd probably just keep one of those guys. But I would really like us to get Yoshida from the Red Sox. He's about $13 million a year. He's a contact kind of guy. His defense isn't incredible, and that stinks. But right now, we have an organization that has no future in the outfield. It
Yeah.
is Trout and then a bunch of guys who are out of options. So you really got to figure out what you're going to have. I talked with Todd off air. Personally, me, between Moniak and Adele, if I had to pick one, I think you're going to have better luck maybe getting Adele to spray the ball than you're going to get Moniak to be consistent, a consistent hitter at the major league level. Adele has always had power. He proved it this year. He's no longer a defensive liability. So I
Hmm.
think a guy like Ron Washington might be able to help him just make a little bit more contact and get that average a little bit higher. So I think there's more upside there. So then that frees up trading Ward as well. So those are the two moves that I would like to see done that can open up the floodgates.
Yeah. No, you know what? I agree. I think I think Max Fried's attainable. Honestly, guy
I
has a
think
World
so.
Series ring. He's looking to get paid. Right? He's 31 years old. He wants longevity. Let's see if he can get a team to sign him long term. Ride this one out. I mean, if the Angels are smart this offseason, you can make a splash. And you can do it with the lower names. Granted, would Corbin Burns be great? Absolutely. He'd be great to have on this team overall. But if you go ahead and let's hone in on Max Fried, I'd hate to say it too, but I'd even go and take the risk right now, and I'd get Shane Bieber. I go after
Really?
him right now, get him paid. He's a local guy without 1-2 punch, and then hopefully you start getting eyes on you from other players saying, hey, maybe they are making that little turn. And like you said, you either trade Ward, get another 4 or 5 guy overall, or you can attack a Nick Martinez type guy. Kyle Hendricks, I wouldn't go after Flaherty, or you make the biggest splash and go Walker Buehler. He has a ring and a half, or I mean, he'll say 2 rings, but
A ring and a pop? A ring and a ring
ring and a
pop?
pop. I mean, we can call it whatever it is, but he'd be a great addition on this team. He's had several arm injuries, looking to get paid, and we're one team that pay
Yeah.
overall for it. But the one guy I want to really harp on, and I think he's a must, but a lot of people are going to go ahead and say no, is the relief pitcher out of San Diego. Was the
Rogers?
lefty, not Rogers. Dang it, I just had his name on the tip of my tongue too. He's a lefty. He wasn't Rogers, but he'd be a great addition to any team right now. We need another help in the bullpen. We need hitters. Don't get me wrong. We need to fill in Brandon Drury's spot, but we hope Luis Rengifo can do that. There's a couple of guys. We get 3 pitchers, 3 starters, and a guy in the pen. I think it's going to help us out a long way in the long run for the Angels to be successful overall, and they can rely on your younger guys.
Well, luckily we have a whole off season to talk more. And Rob, we will have you back on. You're always welcome here. I know you got to go. So last 30-second question I have here to put a bow on it with the Jorge Soler trade. In your opinion, does this trade move the needle? It's not a franchise altering thing, but does it move the needle in the right direction for the Angels?
I mean, I think so. Yeah, I'll say yes to that because instead of the last place team, you move up one spot. Step in the right direction, getting closer to 500 little by little, but it's part of the process of rebuilding. You hope to be the Rangers to go from last place to first place World Series team, but looking at it, let's be realistic, that's not us unless we make a big move. But it is a step in the right direction. It's a small step, hopefully, to a mile that we're going to run on this offseason, but let's see what he can do.
Rob, it is always nice to have you join us again here on Halos in the Infield. You know you are always welcome. We will definitely have you on again this off season. Anything you want to say in closing to the listeners?
No, just hang in there, guys. It's going to be tough for a while. I mean, the World Series, it hurts like a mofo, but remember, that guy did nothing. If Ohtani was on the Dodgers or was not on the Dodgers, they still would have won the World Series.
Yeah, and if it makes you guys feel any worse, remember, I live in the Dallas Metroplex area. I live in Fort Worth. And last year, I had to deal with all the Rangers stuff everywhere. Now it's your turn. So I said the same thing to Todd. I was like, you know what, man? I don't feel bad for you guys because last year I had to deal with it. So on behalf of all of us here at Halos in the Infield, thank you guys so much. Follow us on all our social media. You guys know that. Check out the sponsors. You guys know the drill. We will see you guys next time on Halos in the Infield. Have a good night, everybody.